Good afternoon and welcome back to the channel. I'm Tyler Shaw with Nomad Outfitters, and today we have a 2021 Land Cruiser 200 that we did for a client at a Telluride. This was a full build. It was a lot of fun and another great client. Up front here we have a Dissent slimline front bumper that is their aluminum steel hybrid setups. It does have a set of Baja LP6s, a worn Xeon 12S winch, synthetic, Factor 55 Ultra Hook and fair lead. It currently has Ball Design Squadron Pros on there in amber. We're about to switch that up before it heads back to the Squadron SAEs per the client's choice. We made a custom bracket for the winch control box under the hood. It does have the air compressor under the hood. The air compressor is controlling his rear locker. We just did a 430 gear swap in it, which does get this thing pretty well dialed back into factory spec with what you want to be with RPMs. It feels good. Everything on it's probably one of our favorite Land Cruisers we've done yet. And that's another thing that people ask a lot is why the Land Cruiser, and we'll have to dive into that later on in the video. Working our way back. It does have an ADS suspension system on it. ADS is one of our favorite brands to work with. We went with a 285/75/17 for the Falken Wildpeak ATIII. It's got Icon Vector 5s in black. Moving on to the side now. Okay, moving on to the side of the vehicle, as we mentioned, it does have an ADS suspension system front and rear. It is the external resis with adjustable clickers for the compression. It does have Timbren bump stops front and rear, SBC upper control arms. We did an EIMKeith Panhard bar correction bracket, as well as a Dobinson Panhard bar and rear upper and lower control arms in it as well. It does have the Long Range America 24-gallon auxiliary fuel tank in it. The sliders are from Victory, and we did a custom powder coat traction coat that we like to do on a lot of the Jeep builds. And we brought it into this Land Cruiser 200 build, and it's holding up quite well. Lee with Pristine Powder Coat did a really good job on that one. We put rigid rock lights in the sliders. The controls for the Long Range America fuel tank are up on the dash. We'll dive into that interior here in a little bit. And then it's got Dissent aluminum skid plates as well. Let's move on to the back. Coming in the back of the vehicle, we also stayed with the Dissent theme per the client's choice. It does have a Dissent rear carrier that is the steel aluminum hybrid bumper. He's got his tire carrier and a triple jerry can holder, and the client put a 4-foot jack on the back here from the high lift. We typically fully recommend 5 foots if you're going to do a high lift. It's just safer, easier to use. These things can get pretty dangerous. One thing that we really do like about the Dissent bumpers in the rear is you do get a bike hitch. When you open everything up, it swings with the carrier, separate from the trailer hitch. So it makes accessing everything in the back much easier. Let's open it up here real quick. Okay, moving on to the back here. Let's start with the Goose gear system. Goose gear is one of our main companies that we like to offer, and with all of our clients, we like to give a couple different options, and Goose gear is one of them for a cargo management system. They make a really good product. This is the Goose Gear XL kitchen system, and I believe it's one of the first ones they did for the Land Cruiser 200. They had to remake a plate or two, and they were great to work with. They got it turned around extremely quickly and had it to us ready for a show. The fridge that we went with is the National Luna 60 liter. It is a bigger fridge we typically go with, but it is a cruiser. There's plenty of room. This is the dual zone system, so the client has the ability to go fridge, freezer, and it's also Bluetooth capable. The stove is a cook partner that is hard mounted to the tray that comes out underneath the fridge. and simple propane hookup, and you're cooking dinner or whatever you want pretty well at camp. This whole system is being powered by a 100 amp hour lithium battery that is a LiFo battery that is tucked in the cubby with a custom mount in front of the fridge enclosure. Goose Gear has their drawer system on the side here that does allow extra storage. We ran all of his power management to the back. He's got his Redarc control system. It's all being powered by a Redarc TVMS Manager 30 system. All the controls for the Redarc are either on the side or tucked into the back in front of the cubby system, so there's no wires exposed. We ran the line for the ARB fridge here to the back, so he has easy access. He's turning the system on. He's getting all of his air tools out. He's got a 1,000-watt inverter in front of the fridge, as well as USB and DC plugs. One other thing before I forget here, we did National Luna lights here in the back that are actually really nice. That you could change the pitch. You could change from clear to red if you want to have more of a night vision look and not attract as many bugs. But definitely a nice addition. We did 2 of those up in the overhang. One other thing we need to talk about is the client chose to do the chrome delete on this system, and this one was actually turned out really cool. You notice that on the window trim, we actually did a matte finish and matched all the blackout on the trim, and then on all the body panels for the doors and the back and the front, we did more of a gloss to match the paint. So it kind of flows really well. It turned out very, very clean. It does have an ARB locker that is being controlled inside with just a simple OEM style button. That's being powered by the ARB compressor. And I think that about does it. We could dive into the wiring. Kyle did a phenomenal job on all the wiring. Let's take it for a drive and keep on talking about it. Okay, let's get into the interior and kind of what we did to the interior. Talk about why the Land Cruiser 200 and go into how the rig drives. Inside, starting to right of the steering wheel, we installed this client's Long Range America auxiliary 24-gallon fuel tank control in a blank here to the right. It makes easy access to be able to see how much fuel is left with a simple bar gauge, as well as turning his transfer pump on to transfer from the auxiliary tank to the main tank. It is a 24-gallon tank, so this gives him the fuel capacity of about 49-50 gallons total. Some people like to do a different or a larger pump, transfer pump, and you can do this, and there's nothing wrong with it. Long Range America will tell you that there's nothing wrong with it. What they do advise is changing any of the routing of the flow or the fittings. They've seen some rust issues as well as some failures, but they are not against the addition of doing a larger pump. We don't really feel like it's necessary, although it is an option. This pump is very adequate, and we're not in a real hurry for transferring fuel going down the road. It's a pretty simple, easy thing to do, and you can hear it come on slightly, and overall it's very quiet and not really a nuisance, I would say. To the left of the steering wheel, there is the twin air compressor control. We did a dual power setup on this one where he could turn it on to operate his rear locker, as well as operate it in the back via the Redarc TVMS system. He wanted to have all of his lighting and other controls for accessories tied in on his Redvision system. It makes it easy at camp, as well as gives him the opportunity to operate all of his auxiliary lighting from his Bluetooth capable on his phone. One question we get a lot and want to dive into is why the Land Cruiser 200? And not to take away from the 4Runner or the GX460 at all. We still build on those platforms and do enjoy them. We've owned the 4Runner, and we will probably own a GX460 or a GX550 at some point as well. The Land Cruiser 200 is just built better, is the simple answer. Once you start diving into it, popping panels, you'll notice that the wiring is cleaner, is better, is more robust. The powertrain is more robust, the axles are bigger, everything is just built slightly better. And in turn, it is going to have a longer lifespan. This all increases the longevity. The Land Cruiser for years is just known as a better built rig from Toyota. My dad has an 80 and swears by it that you know, you're not going to see a Tesla that's built 30 years ago in the same kind of condition, and he's probably right. We've seen several 100s in with 500,000+ miles on them, no problem. And we've seen quite a few Land Cruiser 200s with the same kind of mileage. The 5.7 is a 1,000,000-mile drivetrain. You're not going to have a lot of issues with a naturally aspirated engine, and we'll kind of see what happens going forward with the changes to the new Land Cruiser with the hybrid setup, as well as with the turbo GX 550s. Okay, how does the rig drive? The rig drives exactly like you probably think it should. With the weight added, we have got the suspension pretty well dialed in and comfortable for on-road or off-road use. The ADS suspension is working just like it should. It does have the compression adjustment where you can kind of dial in your comfort depending on what weight you have in the rig and what your comfort level is of choice. The Dobinsons setups in the back with the control arms and the Panhard bar and the EIMKeith Panhard bar correction bracket do give all the geometry correction, as well as the SPC upper control arms allow for a proper alignment on the rig. One thing that we did not talk about is the addition of a power brake D-line setup in the front and the rear. Normally, if you go with an 18-inch rim, the X-line is an option on the Land Cruiser 200, and this replaces the calipers as well in the front. With that, you get a six piston caliper, a bigger rotor, bigger pads, and just more stopping force. We do like the power brake setups. We think they're built for more longevity, as well as further improved stopping power. And the D-line is a nice addition to this rig. The big reason for the D-line is for the 17-inch rim that is on the rig. Besides that, the 430 gears make everything feel right. It feels more of like a factory drive now again. The fuel economy is not bad at all. It's not hunting for gears going through the mountains, and it cruises like it should. I think that about does it. Thank you very much for watching. Feel free to reach out with any questions, or if we could do a build for you, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.